So we start with the classification of phenols. Phenols are of three types. One is called as a primary alcohol, primary phenol, sorry, monohydric, dihydric, and trihydric alcohol. If the benzene ring has only one OH group bonded with it, it's a monohydric alcohol. If the benzene ring has two OH group bonded with it, it is called as a dihydric phenol. And if it is equal to 3, then we call it a trihydric alcohol. So what we have now is, if the benzene group is there, and to this benzene I have one OH group, then we call it a monohydric phenol. Monohydric means one OH group is there. And if I have this phenol and I have one OH group more on the benzene ring, either at the ortho position or meta position or para position, anywhere, it is called as a dihydric alcohol. And if the benzene has three OH group, maybe all together, maybe at any other position, they all are in the category of the trihydric alcohol. I hope you're getting this, right? Keep on texting your doubt if you have any. So this is a monohydric alcohol when we have one OH group bonded with the benzene group. It is simply also called as a carbolic group, carbolic acid. So phenol is also called as a carbolic acid. Alpha naphthol, orthocresol, 2-methylphenol is IUPAC name. Note down this orthocresol, 2-methylphenol, or alpha naphthol. Keep on noting down all these pictures or the diagrams here, right? So we have classified here the benzene. If it is bonded to the one OH group, it is called a monohydric. So in that case, we are now showing it is a phenol known as a carbolic acid or alpha naphthol or orthocresol. So these are nothing but the monohydric alcohol. When we talk about the monohydric alcohol, that simply stands for that one OH group is bonded with the benzene. I hope it's all clear. So this is a metacresol and it's a paracresol. So if the methyl and the OH are at the meta position with respect to each other, it is called as a metacresol, or the para position it is called as a paracresol. And to your addition only, just I'm making you revise only these things, that this position is called an ortho position. With respect to the OH group, it is a ortho position. With respect to the OH group, it is a meta position, and with respect to the OH, it is called as a para position. So all these are there. So when I say metacresol, it means the methyl group is at the meta position with respect to the OH group. This is the para position, so it is called as paracresol. And now here I have two different functional groups. Can you identify this functional group? Can you identify this this group? Quick answer. CHO group, aldehyde. Very good. It's a aldehyde group, and this is a phenol group. So this is called as a 4-hydroxybenzaldehyde. 4-hydroxybenzaldehyde. See here, this is the CHO group. If only this is there, then this compound is called as a benzaldehyde. And at the para position, at the fourth position, we have the OH group at the para position only, fourth position only. That is why we call it a 4-hydroxybenzaldehyde. 4-hydroxybenzaldehyde. So yes, any doubt here, Simran? Do you want to ask something from here? Metacresol and a paracresol. Keep on noting down and ask me whatever you want. Right. So this is a 4-hydroxybenzaldehyde. And can you identify this functional group? Carboxylic acid. So out of the carboxylic acid and the OH group, which is preferred? Carboxylic acid, right? So how will you name this compound? How will you name this compound? Yeah, give the IUPAC name. Everyone, give the IUPAC name of the compound. I'm waiting for response. 2-hydroxybenzoic acid. Very good, Jashan. And the common name of the compound, right down here, salicylic acid. salicylic acid. The common name of the compound is salicylic acid. More appropriate, it is the orthosalicylic acid. At the ortho position, so it is the orthosalicylic acid. And this is in this compound. Can you tell me what is the functional group here? Which functional group is here? Anyone? Quick response. I help you. This is the COOR. RCOOR. What do you call this one? No. This is called as a this is called as a ester, not ether, Choban. Ether is ROR. It is a ester group. So out of the this is 4-hydroxy ethyl benzoate. 4-hydroxy ethyl benzoate is the IUPAC name of the compound. Alkyl alkanoate is the general IUPAC nomenclature. Right? 4-hydroxy ethyl benzoate. Note down this. You should know this all nomenclature. Now, when we talk about a dihydric alcohol, it means there are two OH group bonded with the benzene. So this is a dihydric alcohol. So it's a benzene 1,2-diol, benzene 1,2-diol, and common name of the compound is catechol. The IUPAC name is benzene 1,2-diol. Benzene 1,2-diol. Yeah. And if we have at the meta position, the common it is called as the resorcinol, and the IUPAC name will be benzene 1,3-triol. Note down. The common name of the compound is resorcinol, and the IUPAC name is benzene 1,3-diol. Diol, because there are two OH group here, so it is benzene 1,2-diol. Now this is a known as a hydroquinol. This compound is called as a hydroquinol, also called as a quinol, and the IUPAC name is benzene 1,4-diol. Hydroquinone or quinol. These common names are important here. Remember it. Catechol, resorcinol, quinol. Catechol at the ortho position, meta position is resorcinol, and the para position is quinol. Any doubt till now? Write in the chat. Write in the chat. All clear if it is all clear. Now, trihydric alcohol. When you say trihydric, it means there are three OH group bonded with the benzene. So you can see it's a fluoroglycinol. Fluoroglycinol. The IUPAC name will be benzene 1,3,5-triol. Common name of the compound is fluoroglycinol. Karan, this compound is called the pyrogalol when it is at 1,2,3. Consequently, the 1,2,3 it is called the pyrogalol. Benzene 1,2,3-triol. And if it is at the 1,2,4, this compound will be called a benzene 1,2,4-triol. There is no any common name for this. Note down all this common name as well as the IUPAC name. Fluoroglycinol, pyrogalol, and benzene 1,2,4-triol. Now let us have a small quiz now. Are you ready? Write in the chat. I am ready. Okay now. So the first question, everybody will give the answer, right? Phenols are classified as monohydric, dihydric, trihydric, or all of these. Quick answer, A, B, C, D. Good. Very good. So phenols are classified as monohydric, dihydric, and trihydric depending upon the number of the OH groups bonded with the benzene, right? All of this is the correct answer. And now the second question. This compound is benzene 1,4-diol, hydroquinone, both A and B, or none of these. Quick answer. Very good, Karan. Jashan. Good, good, good. This compound is trihydric alcohol, dihydric alcohol, benzene 1,2,3-triol, or both A and C. Good. It is both A and C. Paracrisol is an example of monohydric alcohol, dihydric alcohol, or trihydric alcohol. Monohydric, dihydric, trihydric. D option should not be none of these. You can say none of these. Write in the chat dihydric, trihydric, monohydric. Because here C and D are same monohydric. The structure of the paracrisol is benzene with CH3, right? So this is a monohydric alcohol. This is a monohydric alcohol. Getting me, everyone? Okay, now we had done this topic of the preparation of the phenol earlier. Now let us start with the preparation of the phenol. Like on the screen, we'll be revising it. Otherwise, we had done it earlier also. And we'll also discuss about the acidic character of the phenol. We have discussed last time why phenol are acidic in nature. In our test also, I told you, I asked this question to you, why are phenol acidic in nature? Because this phenol, if you draw the resonating structure of the phenol, that oxygen carries the positive charge. And if you draw the resonating structure of the phenoxadiene, it is neutral. That we have done it, right? So, phenol can be prepared from chlorobenzene by two methods. We'll discuss those two methods. And from the Dawes process, the first one I will discuss about from the Dawes process. Chlorobenzene is the starting material. This compound is also called the phenyl chloride. And if I add here sodium hydroxide at 612 Kelvin, I get sodium phenoxide, and then it's treated with HCl, you'll get the phenol. Write down this step up to this, then I'll go ahead with the next step now. Chlorobenzene is a halorene, right? And I told you that halorenes are less reactive as compared to haloalkanes because of some reasons. Number one reason is resonance. Number two is less dipole moment. Number three is unstable carbocation, right? All that reason, the reaction is very slow. The reaction is very slow, and it required drastic condition for here. It required drastic condition for the reaction to take place. So at 613 Kelvin temperature and 300 atmosphere is a drastic condition. And once you get this phenoxadiene, sodium phenoxadiene, this is then treated with the HCl, then you get the phenol, the last step. So this method is called the Dawes process. In the Dawes process, we start with chlorobenzene and dealing with the sodium hydroxide at 300 atmosphere pressure, high temperature of 613 Kelvin. We have done this reaction earlier also, right? And once we get the sodium phenoxide, this is now treated with the HCl. We get here phenol plus NaCl. Or this sodium phenoxide, once prepared, is treated with the water and carbon dioxide. You get the carbon phenol. So there are two ways now. Either at the last step, when we get the sodium phenoxide, I can add here HCl, you can get the phenol, or you can treat it with the water and carbon dioxide, saturated solution, you can get the phenol. Right, this is a new reaction. The second one is a new reaction that I have not told you before. Note down the second step also. Write in the chat done if you're done with it. Yes, Gulin. Other steps are same, only there is a last step that is different here. Now the phenol can be prepared from benzene diazonium salt. You know that we discussed something about that diazonium salt. Just to revise you once, I'm coming to the benzene diazonium chloride first. I told you this is the aniline, NH2, and we treat it with sodium nitrite and HCl, all at 0 to 5 degrees Celsius. Practically what we do, we take up the aniline and put it into the ice box. Suppose I have, this is the test tube which contains the aniline, and what I do, I take up a big beaker that is filled with the ice and keep it for some time so that the temperature should come somewhere in between 0 and 5 degrees Celsius. And another beaker, we take up another test tube and we add the sodium nitrate and HCl and again put it in the ice box. And let the temperature come to 0 to 5 degrees Celsius, and then we mix the two. Just mix the two. Practically we do it like this only, and we get here benzene diazonium chloride. This is not a benzene diazonium chloride. Be very clear now. See, this is a benzene. Two nitrogens are there. Benzene diazo, azo for nitrogen. Positive charge, EM, like ammonium, right? Benzene diazonium, then we have a negative part is the chloride. So don't just cram it, understand it how we are making the name also. Benzene diazonium chloride. Benzene diazonium chloride. And from this benzene diazonium chloride, we will be preparing the phenol. Just do one thing only. You just add here warm water. Water slightly warm, roughly 50 degrees Celsius, and you'll get here the phenol. With the nitrogen will go out and HCl will go out. The phenol is formed. That's it. Very simple. Half of the reaction you already know. The remaining half you can do now. I hope it's very clear now. Everyone getting me? So that's what we have to do. Benzene diazonium chloride, and it is now treated with the water in the acidic medium, and we get the phenol with HCl and nitrogen gas. All right. Now from cumene. Phenol can be prepared commercially from cumene. What is cumene? Cumene is isopropyl benzene. Remember here, there's a benzene here, and this is the isopropyl benzene. The benzene with a propyl group from the second position, so it is the isopropyl. This group is called as a isopropyl group. From this cumene, we will be preparing the phenol. So this is now treated with oxygen in the presence of the cobalt naphthenate, alkaline sodium carbonate, and you can see that insertion reaction takes place. I'm calling it as an insertion. What is meaning the insertion here? Here we have a carbon and a H group. This carbon and a H group, see here, carbon and a H group, in between the oxygen is getting inserted, and that is what we call it as an insertion reaction. We call it as an insertion reaction. The OH group is inserted between the C and O. In the presence of the catalyst, which catalyst is required here? Cobalt naphthenate. This compound formed is called as a cumene hydroperoxide. You can see that the peroxo linkage, wherever we have a O single bond O, wherever we have a O single bond O, you can see here, this is called the peroxo linkage. This is called as a peroxo linkage. And now this one is now treated with sulfuric acid. We get phenol and acetone. This part is broken from here. This acetone goes from here, and we get the phenol. And the two component can be very, very easily separated because the phenol undergoes intermolecular hydrogen bonding, and acetone has a dipole-dipole interaction of van der Waals force attraction. They have a difference in the boiling point, so we can simply separate them by this simple distillation process. Between the two phenol, there we have a intermolecular hydrogen bonding. It's a liquid at room temperature, and acetone is also a liquid, but that has a weak van der Waals force attraction among the particles of among the molecules of this acetone, and they can be easily separated. That can be easily separated. Are you getting this? Everyone, why phenol can be easily separated from the acetone? Because in case of the phenol, here we have a intermolecular hydrogen bonding, and in case of the acetone, we have van der Waals force attraction. So boiling point of the phenol is more as compared to acetone. I hope it's very, very clear now, everyone. Now, ready for test? One multiple choice question practice test. If you're ready, write in the chat. I am ready. Good. Karan is excited. Good. I want everybody to be an active participant in my class. So cumene is nothing but 4 options: isopropyl benzene, N-propyl alcohol, sec-propyl benzene, and the D option, both A and B. Write in the chat your option. Joban Garewal says A, Karan A, okay, A. So it is also called as sec-propyl benzene, also called as isopropyl benzene. Here it is both the options are correct, and all of you are wrong. It is both. Okay. Phenol can be obtained commercially from option A, chlorobenzene, option B, aniline, option C, cumene, and option D, benzene sulfonic acid. Ryan, Sanigde, you are not participating. Okay, you are done. Ryan, Sahil Preet, all of you, please give your response. So, all of you, most of you are saying C, and Jashan says A. Okay, Dawes process, chlorobenzene. From the chlorobenzene, it is known as a Dawes process, and for that, you saw in that reaction that we require drastic condition of high temperature, 616 Kelvin and 300 atmosphere pressure. That may not be commercially viable. Whereas with the cumene, we are doing the reaction at a room temperature only. So that may be like commercially viable. So C option is the correct answer. When we talk about the commercial method, it means that the input should be less. The requirement of the electricity, heat, right? All the resources should be less. Then only we can have a maximum profit, right? So phenol can be obtained commercially from cumene. C option, correct answer. Now, let us talk about this now. Some properties of this phenol. It shows electrophilic substitution reaction. See here. This is the structure of the benzene. And now if I put up here one OH group, it becomes a monohydric alcohol, monohydric phenol, sorry. You can see that there's an electron cloud on the benzene ring. So any electrophile can be attracted towards it. But now where will it attack? If you draw the resonating structure of the phenol, at which position electron density is comparatively more? You tell me now. Option A, ortho position. Option B, meta position, and option C, para position. D, none of these. What is your answer now? At which position we have more electron density in phenol? Ortho, meta, para, or none? Nowhere. You can draw the resonating structure. Okay. Joban says ortho and para. Very good. So if you draw the resonating structure of this, it goes, the electron density is comparatively more at ortho and para position, and that is why the electrophile will attack upon two positions. One is the ortho position, one is at the para position. So when the phenol undergoes number one, electrophilic substitution reaction. The hydrogen here at the ortho position is replaced by the, substituted by the electrophile. And one example now I'll show you about the nitration. See the nitration process. For the nitration we need a nitrating mixture. For the nitration we need nitrating mixture. What is that nitrating mixture? That is a concentrated nitric acid and concentrated sulfuric acid. The mixture of the two is called as a nitrating mixture. The mixture of two is called as a nitrating mixture. Now, why do we need sulfuric acid here? Basically, we have to go for the electrophilic substitution reaction. It means the electrophile has to be generated, then only it will attack upon the benzene or the phenol. So this sulfuric acid, H2SO4, in the concentrated form, it undergoes the dissociation and gives here HSO4 and H positive ion. And this is the structure of the nitric acid, HNO3. And here we have a lone pair where the H positive attacks. Keep on noting down the mechanism and ask me if you have any doubt anytime. This lone pair gives electron to the H positive now. Now it forms here HONO2, and this is given to the H. So oxygen is losing one electron, so it acquires a positive charge. So it acquires a positive charge here. Getting me, everyone? So what do you think now? The oxygen carrying positive charge, is that stable or unstable? What do you say? Oxygen carrying positive charge is stable or unstable? What do you say? Unstable. Yeah, oxygen carrying positive charge is unstable, right? So what do you do now? Remove this water. Remove this water. And what you will get here, NO2 with positive charge and water, right? NO2 positive is electrophile, right? And this will attack upon the phenol. Where will it attack? Now question is now, where will it attack? This NO2 positive has to attack here, right? Where will it attack? Where the OH group is directing, and through the resonance you know that this is ortho para director. This is a ortho para director, and that is why it will attack upon two positions, one at the ortho position and other at the para position. One at the ortho position, other at the para position. Two products are formed here. Are all of you getting me? Two products are formed here. Can you tell me which will be the major product here? Para product. Very good. Why para product is more stable? Very good. Tell me. Why para product is more stable? Everybody participate here. No problem if you give a wrong answer. I'll correct it. This is a major product. Para is less repulsion. What type of repulsion are you talking about, Joban? What type of repulsion are you talking about? Is it electronic? Okay, you say symmetric. Okay. You should say, actually, the reason is what we see in chemistry. These two groups are having some steric hindrance. They repel each other, surface repel each other. And here we don't have any steric repulsion. Now, I'll get a mixture of the two. I want to separate them. By which method I can separate them? Yeah, by which method we can separate them? Remember here, we can use here steam distillation. And if you see, in case of the orthonitrophenol, see it very carefully. It's a very interesting topic here that you have done a part of it in the +1 level also. Here, this is one molecule and this is another molecule of orthonitrophenol. And here you can see that within the same molecule, there is a intramolecular hydrogen bonding. I call it the intramolecular hydrogen bonding. Intramolecular means it is within the same molecule, right? It is within the same molecule. So between two molecules, what type of interactions are possible which is keeping them together in a liquid state? Can you tell me now? Between two molecules, I'm not talking about within this molecule, I'm talking about between two molecules, which type of forces are operational here? Which type of forces are operational here? Anyone? Which force are operational here? These are only weak van der Waals force of attraction. Only weak van der Waals force of attraction, right? And now if you talk about the para-nitrophenol, this is a para-nitrophenol, and now making one more molecule here, or the para-nitrophenol. Now can you tell me which force is operating here which is keeping them together? There's a one molecule and there's another molecule. Between two, which force is there which is keeping them together? Yes, Anekde. Gulin. Very good. Intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Very good. This is the intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Out of the intermolecular hydrogen bonding and intramolecular, so van der Waals here, which is comparatively stronger one? Yeah. And that is why the boiling point of para-nitrophenol is more as compared to the orthonitrophenol. So we can separate them easily, right? We can separate them easily, very easily. Okay, one thing I will tell you, that your hard work is a vector quantity. Do you know what is vector quantity? Anyone? What is it? What do you say? What is scalar and vector? You might have done in the physics. Yes. So those who are doing hard work as a scalar quantity, that may not lead to any success. Your hard work must be having a particular direction. Your hard work must have magnitude as well as direction. So work according to the need, in which direction we have to work hard. Somewhere we have to be smart also, right? So smartness is also required. Smart work and hard work, combination of two will bring you to the top, right? So make this hard work a vector quantity, and little bit of smart work also, little bit. But in chemistry, physics, mathematics, smartness mostly does not work. Your hard work as a vector quantity will bring better results. Smartness somewhere, not always, right? Okay, now let us go ahead. Now what we have discussed till now is the nitration, right? And now let us go for the bromination now. Let us go for the bromination now. This is the phenol here, and now I'll add here bromine, but I need electrophile, and for that I'll be getting here bromonium ion, Br positive ions, as FeBr3, right? So this will give you, this FeBr3 and Br2 will give you bromonium ion, right? You can use the anhydrous aluminum chloride also, like this anhydrous aluminum chloride or aluminum bromide, something like that. So basically that should be a electron deficient compound. Generally with the bromination we are using FeBr3, it's a electron deficient compound. And now if we add here Br2, this causes the electrolytic cleavage, and Br negative goes with the iron here, and it gives you Br positive and FeBr4 negative. This bromonium ion will now attack upon phenol, but where will it attack? Now my question is, where will it attack? It will attack upon the you tell me, complete it. It will attack upon dash positions. Yes, very good, Jishan. So this is a bromine at the ortho position and the bromine at the para position. Can you tell me now which is the major product now? Can you tell me which is the major product here? Which is the major product here? Yeah, para product, because of least steric hindrance. Are you getting me? Because of least steric hindrance. I hope it's all clear, right?